Good morning, virtual villagers. Hi, I'm Kate from What Kate Made, and this morning I'm going to be showing you some ways to preserve autumn leaves. There's a couple of ways to do it. I'm going to show you. Um, sorry, that's my dog you can hear. He's decided to come upstairs and he's got a bit of a cough. Um, where was I? Preserving autumn leaves. So at this time of year, I don't know about you, but we've got leaves dropping everywhere. Today's a very dull day. Most of them have dropped our leaves. I'm trying to bring your live feed up, but it's not cooperating at the moment. And they're nice to use, but they crumble and dry really quickly. So the two ways I've got today of preserving them, one depends on equipment and on you having a specific item, that is a laminator. Now, if you're lucky enough to have a laminator, and they're not expensive to get these days, we've had one for quite a while. I'll just get your live feed up so I can see you. So you can put anything in a laminate, well, within reason, obviously, in a laminator. So what we're gonna make as well today, one of the things I'm going to show you in how to use your leaves is a luminary. So basically it's a cardboard shape with windows cut out and you put a candle inside it. Now this is the laminated version of the leaves. I've already put it into my cardboard luminary, which is triangular and stands up like that. In a minute I'll put a candle in and show you. The leaves, I've used fairly small leaves in this one because you want, obviously a big one would just fill the whole window and you wouldn't see what it was. So these are smaller ones. I've got various different ones. I've got a little leaves. This beautiful red one is actually from my Acer, and so is that one there in the garden. But the others I've picked up on the walks. I'm sure people think I'm mad. I've been out walking the dog and picking leaves up as I go. So that's one way of using your laminated leaves. The other thing that I made with the laminated leaves, I've got so many baskets full of different things here, just bear with me. Now I've had these for my laminator. They're a bookmark, specially cut and shaped laminating pouch for bookmarks. So I put a little, you can put a hole in it, put a little ribbon on. So I made I'm laminated some of the smaller leaves inside it. There's a little oak leaf there, and again one from my Acer. I'm not sure what that one is. Might be beech or birch. So that's another way when you're laminating. So with the laminator, it is fairly easy, but you do need to have the equipment. So laminate pouch. You arrange your leaves inside it and feed it through, and that seals them in here and preserves them quite well. You don't have to have special pouches to make the bookmark. You can use a regular pouch and just cut it afterwards. So that's one way of preserving your autumn leaves. You could also make a sun catcher for the window. It doesn't have to be something you put a candle in. It could be something that you could hang. But, you know, it's nice. You make a pleasing arrangement. And, again, it does require you to have a laminator, which aren't expensive these days. The second way is, again, it's a luminary, which is what I'm going to actually make with you today, is to preserve them with wax. Now, you might think, oh, that sounds, you know, a bit complicated, but it isn't. You don't need any specialist equipment. I've got a wax pot melter like you see in beauty salons because I bought it from somebody who's closing a beauty salon down, and I do use wax quite a lot. So that's what I've got. But all you need is a saucepan of water and a metal or glass bowl. So like you would melt chocolate. You don't even need to buy specialist wax. You can just use tea lights. The little tea lights that you get, a pack of 100 for a £5 or something like that. Just take them out and chop them, melt the wax, and you can use that. It is paraffin wax in there. You can use other sorts of wax. You can use beeswax or soy wax, but they are more expensive than the paraffin wax pellets. I do candle making and I do batik, so I use quite a lot of wax pellets. Right, so the luminary I'm going to show you how to make today is this one. And instead of the clear one with the laminated leaves, this is baking parchment. So again, it's not anything expensive, and I've glued them on, but these leaves have been waxed, so they will, they're sealed in, so they shouldn't, I'm not sure how long they'll last because I've never actually done this before. I just thought it would be nice. I want to do a wreath for my door, and I thought, how am I going to make them so that they don't curl up and die? And this is the solution I came up with. So that's my luminary. It's not going to be very, I can put a candle in it and show you, but it's not really going to show up today. I'll have a quick go because my wax isn't quite fully melted yet. Where's the candle gone? I had a little, obviously not a real candle, because there's lots of paper and wax. So I'm using the little electric tea lights, and the one I had ready to show you has disappeared now. So I'm not going to show you. Never mind, it might turn up when I'm sorting through my stuff. Right, so what we're going to need today, we're going to need our melted wax. I've got mine here beside me. It's nearly fully melted now, so you would maybe have yours on over a pan. We need leaves. I've got various leaves in that stack of papers. We might need PVA glue. Now this I've got, I don't normally use PVA, I use hot glue, but with the wax leaves, obviously the wax is going to melt with the hot glue. Now this is PVA, but this is watered down. It's all I had. I use it for stiffening things. So we'll try it with that, but I might end up having to sort of like use a different sort of glue, or even use the hot glue. You need a piece of card. I've started doing this just because it's, you know, it's partly done, so it's a bit quicker for me. There's a template that I've attached to the event with all the measurements on it to make this particular size of luminary. You will need a ruler. You will, let me just flip this over. You'll need scissors. You'll need a rubber and a pencil. You'll need a craft knife. Oh no, there's scissors. What am I doing? You'll need a craft knife for cutting. If not, you can use scissors, but a craft knife would be better. And I've also, that's about it for that. I've got some spare of my baking parchment or greaseproof paper, whichever you got, that I've used to lay the leaves on when they've been waxed, because they get very drippy. When they're wet, they're a bit drippy. I'm having the rest of it there. So without further ado, I'm just going to clear some of my equipment out of the way, because we'll go through stage 1 first, and we'll talk about how to preserve our leaves and what we're going to do with them before we make something up. Okay, so let me just turn the camera down, so bear with me. I'm not going to turn it down very far because I want you to be able to see. Just let me find the best position. I might need to move it backwards a little bit. I want you to be able to see everything. Okay, and get all my equipment in. Right, so this is my wax pot. Let me bring it forward. Can you see it? It's a bit on the edge, but it's an electric one. The wax is melted inside. That's just paraffin wax. As I say, you can use chopped up candles if you want. Now, I'm just going to show you something first, because I did some yesterday, obviously, because I made my samples. But I tried, initially, I thought it would be better to brush the wax on rather than dipping them. But when I did that, I've got 2 samples here. So that one is one I brushed. Can you see how thick the wax looks? And it's sort of clumped in places, and it's quite visible. It's very stiff, but it's quite visible, the wax on it. This is a dipped one. Can I put them together? You can see that it is much more, there's much less wax on it. It is stiff. It's not as stiff as that one, but it's stiff enough for what I want to use. The bigger leaves I'm preserving, I want to use to embellish a a wreath, an autumn wreath. So I am going to do the bigger ones as well as the smaller ones I'm going to use today. So that's the difference brushing makes. Dipping's much better. Now the only thing with my little wax pot is it's quite little. So dipping in big leaves is a little bit harder. They're all ones I've already done. We're going to use small leaves obviously for our luminary. I'm gonna use the bigger leaves for my autumn wreath display. Now, so here I'm using a pair of tweezers to dip them into the wax. I forgot to show you them before. So small leaves or leaves with the stalk on, we don't actually need the tweezers. So I'm going to start with this one, and I'm just going to dip it in my wax so the whole leaf goes under, and then I'm going to just let it drip. Now I'm going to try and move this over. I'll turn the camera a little bit so you can, that's better. There you go. So you can see that. So it's dripped quite a bit, and then I'm just going to lay it on my baking parchment, and I'm just going to do the same with all of the leaves I've got here. Now this one is one of the acer leaves, and it's a little bit, it's curled up a little bit, straight out a bit much. Talking about collecting your leaves, it's the best condition I found with them is to get them newly fallen if you can, or actually take them off the tree. Just because the fresher they are, the less likely they are to crisp and break. Now with this one, I'm going to spread out its I don't know, leaf, the little parts of the leaf, so that it doesn't stick together. It still looks like the leaf has got that hand shape. Now that one we did earlier, that has set already. You can see it's gone stiff. You can't see any wax on the surface. That's how quick it is. So I'm going to go ahead and do enough of these small leaves for the luminary that we plan to do. And I'm just going to do them now because it doesn't take very long at all. So you're dipping them right under the surface and letting it drip off. Any excess will leave a white waxy mark, so that's why we try and get them off. Please be careful not putting your fingers in the wax. And if you're using a pot like this, or even a metal pot, a metal or glass one, just be careful you're not touching it because it's quite hot. I mean, it's not going to burn you. It's not like boiling water, but it is reasonably hot. So I'm carrying on. These are setting so quickly. The first 4 I've done are already set, so by the time I've shown you all the cutting out, they'll be completely set. It's very simple but effective way. And as I say, because I've not done this before, I'm not entirely sure. I might use tweezers with that one. I'm not entirely sure how long they'll stay preserved, but they'll stay preserved for, you know, the 3 or 4 weeks that my my wreath will be hanging on the door before we switch to Christmas. Oh, I dropped that one. So get it out. My tweezers are not very good. They're just a cheap pair. So I'm just going to have a quick look who we've got watching. We've got Lisa. Hi, Lisa. And Irene. Irene is a regular watching me. I'm sure she's a regular watching everybody on the virtual village hall. Such a brilliant resource for anybody who is at home. Can't praise them enough. Now that one I am again going to spread out the leaflets because my last one. I reckon about 4 leaves per window on this luminary. So the window, and there's 3 windows. So right, so we'll just move them to one side while they set. I'm going to show you how I dipped a big leaf. In fact, I'll move these that I've already set because then I've got room to put my big leaf down. Now that one, unfortunately, if you can see, the wax is pooled in the bottom, so I've got a little bit of a white mark. So what I'm going to do is re-dip that because the wax will melt. and then you would keep this on the heat if you were using a pan and a bowl. Just mention that because now these bigger leaves I've got in here are for my wreath, and I've tried to pick ones that have got interesting patterns, and we've got lots of cherry trees on our high street, so they have these are cherry tree leaves. They have great big ones that got this lovely red colour, and that's got brown on it. I've got a beech leaf. My neighbour has a beech hedge, so I went picking her. We've lots and lots of sycamores as well around the village, so I've got lots of sycamore leaves. But these ones, the big ones, so my bowl is quite small. You can do them. I'm only going to do the one. I'll do the rest of those this afternoon for my wreath. But you do have to kind of that must have had a bit of water on because my wax has gone funny. It'll clear out in a minute. So you let as much of the wax drip off it as you can, because you don't want it to pool and give you that white little shake. And then I'm going to, it's curled up a little bit with the heat, so I'm just going to spread it out again. I don't think you can see that. Let me pull it forward a little bit. There you go. So I've spread it out. It's very, very quickly setting. If I have time at the end, I'll show you how I'm going to arrange them on my wreath base. So that is basically our leaves done, preserved. These smaller ones, as I said, are what we're going to use in our luminary. So I'll move them to one side. And, oh, that one stuck a little bit. They shouldn't stick too much. If you have waxed paper, that's used for, people use it for patchworking, and I'm not sure where to put that one. Put it at the back. I've got so many wires running because I've got lots of electric things on. Okay, so we'll get started on our luminary. Now, I'm lucky to have this board that is it's got all it's marked out in a grid line. Just going to turn that wax off, and then it's not. And it's magnetic, so I have it comes with this steel ruler. This is great for scoring paper, for scoring and cutting. And we're going to do both scoring and cutting. The other thing that is useful is a bone folder. They're not made of bone these days. Mine's plastic. Where have I put it? But it is very good for creasing your folds. I don't know where to put it. There it is. My leaves are all dropping off my original luminary now because I ended up having to hot glue them on, and it wasn't very good. Right, so the template has got measurements on it. If you haven't seen it yet, if you go and look back in the comments or on the event page, I put it in there. Also, I think that you might get it uploaded. It's going to be a trifold, a triangular shape. We're going to cut out these windows and then fill them with the baking parchment. It's got a 1/2 inch score on each side that you fold it in and glue it together. So the lines on here, the broken lines of scoring, and the solid lines are for cutting. So I'll show you what I do. So I use a scalpel, well, the craft knife. Make sure you've got a nice sharp blade in it. I changed the blade in this yesterday because I was really struggling, and it made an amazing difference. So scoring, you don't cut all the way through, and it just makes it easier to fold. So these lines I've already scored. This one at the top, I'll turn it around the other way so you can see it. This one I haven't. So I want to put my ruler, my steel ruler, along the dotted line, and I'm going to gently, because this blade's quite sharp now, I only want to cut about halfway through, so I'm going to gently run that up. And what we should have, if you feel it, is a slight scar. Now, I'm going to put the ruler over the other side. And that's not going to work. I'm resting my ruler on my leaves at the other side. I might just run it over again with that knife. I don't think I've quite scored it enough. I'm trying, because I've got a new blade, I'm trying to do it gently so I don't cut right through. So I'll give it a little bit more pressure. And then I'm going to fold it up against the ruler so I get a nice straight edge. And then when I've taken the ruler away, I can take the bone folder. As I say, it's called a bone folder because they were made of bone originally, but they're actually plastic. You can use scissors. You can use the handle of scissors like that. It has just the same effect. But somebody gave me these as a present, so. And run it along the crease to give you a really good crease. So it's going to sit nicely. And I've already done the other side the same. Okay, so that is just scoring. Now, I've scored these lines already. These are where my folds are going to be, to fold it into a triangle. But I've cut out 2 of the windows. So I'm just going to cut out the last window. So this time, I'm going to press really hard with my craft knife. I'm going to put my steel ruler. It's probably best to try and get a metal ruler, but you know, any ruler will do, any straight edge. And you're going to score right through, and you press hard enough so you can feel it going right through. And I'm going to cut out this window to match the others. And then I'll turn it that way. I'm going to have to flatten down my scored bit, but that'll be fine. And just cut out the last. Now, when it comes to glue today, I'm going to use double-sided tape. You can just use PVA glue. I'm using double-sided tape just because I don't have time to wait for PVA to dry when I'm demonstrating. So I've got this double-sided tape. That's about a 1/2 inch, possibly less, 1/4 inch, I mean. So I'm going to... My baking parchment is just baking parchment. Greaseproof paper, any tissue paper even. It just needs to be slightly translucent. And I'm going to roughly cut a piece big enough, and then I'm going to trim it to size properly. So I'm just cutting this off. If you use maybe like an orange or a yellow tissue, that would be really attractive as well. And then I'm going to trim it again more. So what I want it to do is sit inside those, where the folds are for the edges. I'm going to cut it there. These scissors aren't very good. They've got a bit gluey. Take that bit out. And then it needs to be a bit shorter because we want it. We're going to stick it on with the tape, and the tape measures, as I said, about 1/4 inch. So I'm just going to double check. So I want to cut along that fold. My original piece of card was A4, so you know you want your piece of parchment or tissue to be less than A4. Okay, so that fits nicely. Don't worry about the ragged edges because we're not going to see that. Now, when I did mine yesterday, I folded it the wrong way and I had all my pencil marks on the outside. So I'm being a bit more careful about it today. Now, I'm going to score with the bone folder again, just to give it a little bit more, and then fold it up. This is the folds to make it triangular. So that just makes it easier when we put the tissue in to, it's harder to fold it once you get the tissue in. So to already put the folds in helps us a little bit. So the pointy bit on your bone folder is quite good for making a crease. And then I'm going to fold it up against the ruler again, because that gives you a nice sharp edge. And it gives it a bit of stability while you're folding. So there we go. That's now ready to put our double-sided tape on. So the double-sided tape is going to go right next to the window. One piece along the top. You can either cut this or tear it. And then one piece along the bottom. Now, when I was practicing, particularly with the laminate, I only put a piece down the middle, down one side, and I ended up with a bit of a, it moved away. So what I'm going to do is put it right down the fold line and hope that it still folds properly, because that will hold it in at both sides. You may still get a bit of a gap, but we will we'll wait and see. Now, I've overlapped that slightly, so that means that I won't be able to get the tape backing off, so we'll just move that a little bit. And your last pieces go down these sides. So you want to get your double-sided tape as close to the edge of the window as you can, so that it holds the parchment firm and taut. Right. So now we peel the tape off. I am going to overlap this, so that's why I've not stuck this bit right down to the edge, but you just peel it off with your fingernails if you've got any. It's proving a tiny bit stubborn. And then where they overlap, you can stick them down properly once you've got the backing on the underneath piece on. This is working quite well. You're all enjoying it. I can see that we've got 13 people watching, but only 2 people have said hello. So if anybody else wants to say hello, tell me what you think. It's all sticking to me now. This is the problem once you get loads of sticky tape on, is that you get stuck up. So I've got sticky wax, I've got sticky glue. I'm going to be very sticky today. I don't know how I managed it yesterday, but I ended up with wax in my hair when I was practicing. Not in a good way either. So when I do the day before I do a demo, when I do a practice run, so that I can show you an example, that's the day when I do all the things that you shouldn't be doing, or should try not to do. Now, what I want to do with this is get it as taut as I can. So I'm going to stick it at one edge, get it sealed down, and then kind of stretch it and stick it as I go. I mean, it won't stretch because it's paper, but stretching it out like that will get it as taut as you can. I have got a little bit extra there. I don't want any on there because that's where I'm going to overlap and fix together those creases are my overlap, if you like, where I'm going to stick it together into a triangle. I'm getting all stuck up again. Right, so the leaves are going to go on the outside, and I'm going to I'm pondering a bit because it's the glue situation. If you can use PVA glue, what I would do is put PVA glue on those panels and then stick your leaves on the best you can. They have got a bit of shape to them, the leaves. They're not completely flat, so it might make it a little bit hard to stick them. But you want to do an arrangement. Just put them in place. That one might prove to be it's not very flat, so I might put that one to one side. So it doesn't matter how many leaves you use. You just want to fill each panel, and I'm trying to get them a little bit varied, so I haven't got the same type of leaf on every bit. And the final, those two are quite big. I would like to put that one on. Maybe move that little one there and put that one on there, and sort of turn them so that they're not all pointing in the same direction. Right, so now I'm going to try a little bit of my PVA glue. Glue stick as well would probably work. It's thinking about it drying. Actually, I'm not. What I'm going to do is use some double-sided tape. I would not recommend this. I would recommend glue, but the glue's not going to, in the short time we've got, it's not going to work. So I'm going to cut some little bits of this double-sided tape, and I'm going to stick it on the back of the leaf and hope it sticks. It may not because of the wax, in which case I will resort to the hot glue gun. In fact, it's not going to stick because of the wax. I'm going to go for the hot glue gun. I'd used the hot glue gun yesterday. As I said, the only problem is it tends to melt the wax. So what I'm going to do is put some glue onto the paper, a couple of little. It is hot, this. It's just not cooperating. It's melted a bit as we went along. Give it a twist and then push. Oh, do you know, it's going to be one of those days. I think my glue stick has melted into the gun. Just bear with me a second. There's always a solution to these things, particularly when you've got a sharp knife handy. Oh, now the blade's come out. Oh dear, the best laid plans, as they say. See, can you see what's happened? There's a big dot of glue there. That's stopping my glue stick manoeuvre through. If I can get it off with the scissors, it'll manoeuvre again. There we go. Oh, it is a big one, that. It's probably because I've left it lying when it was on. Ah, there we go. So I'm going to put a little bit of glue like that and then stick them on. As the glue sets a little bit, it won't melt the wax as much. But as I say, please go for a different sort of glue. The wax, if it melts, will very quickly solidify again, so we don't have to worry too much. And it does stay stuck, if that makes sense. The hot glue, it dries clear. It is making just a little bit of a mess, so I'm going to just put little dots where I think the leaves are going to go. It's setting quite quickly. Because you'll have more time than me, as I say, I would recommend glue stick or PVA, but because I don't have the time, the hot glue is the best solution normally, unless of course you've got something that will melt. I'm glad people have started to say hello. Sometimes I feel I'm here on my own, just me and Irene usually. And whoever's in charge at the village hall. It's nice that you and I will try and reply to your comments at some point. We've got Ali and we've got Caroline and Timothy, so that's nice. We've got some people and we're getting there now. We've just got 2 more leaves to do, so don't worry about going over the edge of your window either. That doesn't really matter because it's part of the charm. Now, I have done these kind of autumn luminaries in the past, but I've always cut the leaves out of card or felt or tissue. I just like this one. I like this method. I'm going to use this to preserve other things, I think. Right, now, the test is turn it over and make sure that none of the leaves fall off, which they don't. I've got a great big blob of glue on there, so we'll just pretend that isn't there. I'm just going to trim the stalks a little bit of the longer stalks. So that one and that one. Now we're going to try and fold it together. I say try. It should work. I have done it, but the way I want to fold it is that so that these two edges are inside like that, just because it provides a neater finish than one overlapping the other. But you don't have to do it that way. If you want to overlap it, that's fine. And I am just going to glue or tape one of these fold over edges, and that's just the right width of tape. Last week I was suffering with a cold and it's still lingering, and because it's making my voice a little bit tired. Right, so peel that off. I'm just going to, before I do this, I'm just going to redo these folds because it's sort of flattened out a bit as we've worked, and we want it to be able to go together quite easily. This is the point at which my leaves would fall off if they were going to fall off. Now, my luminaries I'm going to put out in my porch. I have a nice porch with a little table on, and I have a twig tree, and I always decorate it for the seasons. And it's been Halloweeny until Halloween was past, and now it's autumny. So I've got autumn leaves on my twig tree, felt ones that I made last year, and pumpkins and things. Now, this point is where we're going to stick the two edges so that the folds are inside. You do have to do it carefully, and so you don't get it sort of slightly out of shape, and it's not easy. And you just pinch it together like that, and it's done. What do you think? Now, I don't know where my little tea light has gone. I've got electric tea lights that have a sort of flicker. They're quite nice. I use them for what do I use them for? When I've done crocheted or sewn items, you don't want to be putting a real tea light inside because obviously you set fire. But you get the gist. So that is the lovely luminary. And if I get the laminated one again, you can see the laminated one will glow really brightly, and this will be a bit more subtle, but you'll get the silhouette and the color of the leaves. The light will make them glow. So those are our luminaries with our wax leaves, and I'm going to just put them to one side because we've got a few minutes left. So I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with the big leaves. I've got this is a vine wreath, so this is quite nice to use. It's organic, it's not plastic, there's no polystyrene involved. I also have my other autumn wreath that I made last year. Inside here is a papier-mâché and cardboard tube wreath that I made myself. This one's decorated in mostly felt leaves, a bit of needle felting. There's a little squirrel there. Oh, you see the little squirrel and a mush and a needle felted, some crocheted leaves. with this one, I want to make a base of the big wax sleeves. Now, I am not, I'm not going to do a lot of them. I can't glue them on, as we've established, but they will. You can pierce these, so you can put wire around them, because the ones I've got I've left a stalk on. So these are going to make a base for the other items that I want to put on, and I'm going to just, I'm not going to use that one. That's the one that I painted with wax and it got very messy. I'm going to make a base for my design by doing sort of three quarters of it with leaves. That one's upside down. I might put the red one up there. I have got some more leaves to preserve to make this a little bit. The sycamore ones are good because you can, they've got a nice colour, and you can, so you can basically see how you would create a wreath and wire each one on with a fine wire, florist wire. Silver wire is really good. And then on top of that, I'm going to put crocheted leaves and other things. But that's going to be my second wreath. And again, as I said, I don't know how long this might not last as long as excuse me, the other one did, because I don't know how long the wax sleeves will stay. If they get bent, the wax breaks, and I presume it will then let the moisture in or whatever. But that's another idea. If you've got a wreath base that you can use to decorate with your leaves, it's going to look beautiful, I think. And some of the other leaves I've got a bit more colour in them, so I will get more of a variety of colour. So I hope you've enjoyed that, and that's given you a few ideas of what to do with your autumn leaves. Let me just turn the camera up again. Nice to preserve autumn leaves and use them. It's all organic. None of it is you're reducing the use of plastic, so that's always good. I like that. And you know, fairly reasonably cheap ingredients, and quite. Oh no, Caroline is telling me that Google says wax sleeves can last for years. Yeah, I would think so, but I think there's probably things that you know, the fact that, you know, if you crack the wax, then there will be reasons why they don't last for years, but I'm definitely sure they will last for this season. By the middle of December, we'll all be putting Christmas decorations up, so our I'm not sure how well they'd store my wreath. I don't think it'll store as well as my other one does. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed that. For me, that is the last of my autumn crafting. After this, I'm going to be moving on to Christmas. So my next few broadcasts will be about Christmas. I'm going to be bringing some ideas to the table on how to create cheap Christmas presents. We're all under a lot of strain financially at the moment, and it's ideas that will, you know, are nicer than the shop bought things you buy. Ways to decorate your wrapping, or, you know, just make somebody a personal present. So that's going to be me for the next few weeks. So I'm going to leave you now. I shall go and get my lunch, read through your comments. I hope you've enjoyed this. If you go up and look on my page, What Kate Made, you'll see various things. You'll see the video for the wreath base that I was talking about just earlier. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I will see you again soon.